Thank you all for taking the time out of your Monday to attend this session. Really excited to learn myself from Josh and Craig on how they leverage metadata in their own daily jobs. Some quick housekeeping. Got a really exciting week of webinars scheduled. Tomorrow, we're going to teach everyone with Kevin Slattery how to do a jersey swap in Photoshop. It's draft season. NFL coming up in a few weeks, NBA coming up after. Fingers crossed. Really cool opportunity for you all to take your own content creation to the next level by understanding how some of the creatives, particularly Kevin, leverages jersey swaps and how to make them in Photoshop. So really exciting about that. Wednesday, excuse me, all my days are messed up. Wednesday with Erin Hodges, she's going to run through TikTok 101. What is the platform? How to use it from a brand perspective and how to not look old and outdated on it. And then Thursday with my guy, Alex Rubens, going to teach you all what esports is, with everyone being remote and no sports happening on TV. As you all hopefully saw this over the weekend, ESPN did a 2K tournament in conjunction with the NBA. So it's easy to think about esports in terms of that, but reality is that esports has its own definition, and there's a bunch of leagues, a bunch of different games. What are they? How does it work? How do they make money? Really interesting session coming up with Alex Rubens. And you can sign up for everything. Nikki just put in the chat room where you can sign up. For those who've been on this before, please post your Twitter account, your LinkedIn account in the chat. Nikki's going to be collecting them all and sharing a Google Sheet after with everyone's information. We've received a ton of incredible feedback from everyone that have been able to network. So it's exciting. Ask questions as well. This is going to be a very interesting topic, and for myself as well, where I don't really have the hands-on experience understanding how metadata can make your life a little bit easier. So there's going to be a ton of questions coming out. It's a new topic, I know, for a lot of people here, and for those that it's not, still ask the questions that you might have as well. Excited to have Josh and Craig from Ole Miss and Texas A&M, SEC rivalry up in here, talk through how they leverage metadata in their own roles. And Josh, Craig, thank you for joining us, and handing it over to you.
You're very welcome. What's up, Craig? How are you doing, man?
Great. How are you? I'm having some technical difficulties. I'm not getting sound out of one of my computers, so I might move it over my presentation. So if I'm working while you're talking, I apologize right now.
And that's no worries. And just to the SEC rivalry thing, it's kind of crazy. For y'all know, our fans all hate each other.
Yeah.
We love each other. The photographers,
yeah,
we all love each other. We bounce ideas off of each other. We help each other. So all the guys and gals in the SEC and all over the country are amazing. So excited to be here with Craig, and just excited to talk to you guys about metadata. I talked to Craig several times over the past couple of days, and we decided to, I looked up every definition possible about metadata and had all these slides and stuff like that. And then we just decided to show you instead of having these slides and everything. And the definition that I came up best with metadata was something that I came up with. I think it best suits what we do. And it's the guts of the photo. It's what lives inside of the photo that makes it live. It's the guts of the photo. It's what makes the photo live on. Now we shoot anywhere from 2,000 to 10,000 photos per game. And those photos are going to get lost. If you don't tag them, if you don't put your metadata into these photos, you're going to lose them. And everyone around you, your team, is going to lose them. So we just decided to show you what metadata is. Now, Craig's going to talk about code replacements and photo mechanic here in a little bit, but I wanted to show you just a little bit. Let me pull it up here. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
You can see my screen there?
Oh, yeah.
Photo mechanic? Okay, good. So what metadata is the stuff that you put inside your photo. And again, Craig will speak to this here in a second. But you have your generalities to the photo. You have your team, who they play. You can have when they play. You can have location. You can have everything else. But the big thing here is your keywords. If you go back and look, get back out of here. When you properly put in metadata into your photos, you can search by basically anything. Let's say, again, 10,000 photos per game. Stuff's going to get lost. We have stuff tagged by one of our keywords is emotion. You hit emotion, and you can go straight through everything that has emotion. This is just from one game that we have here. Another thing about metadata, take that photo, for example. Now that photo is going to be used quite a bit because it's a unique photo. But if we open up the metadata for that, you can see that we have tagged right field. We have our facility. You have that's a home run. You have that's an emotion. You have everything in there so that this photo will live on for your entire team. Just being able to search by these things, by these keywords. Another thing that I wanted to show you really quickly was just a few photos that I've tagged here. Now, our graphic designers and our communications people and our marketing people, they love to use certain types of photos in their, let's say, schedule magnets and posters and all that good stuff. That photo right there without metadata would be lost. That photo right there would be on a schedule magnet for next season. It'd be one of the first ones they would choose. So what you want to do is you want to go into all these things. And again, Craig's going to show you how to do this. And right here in this keywords section, you want to put all your metadata. There's one Wolfpack. Our team does a Wolfpack. And by the way, shout out to Ole Miss baseball. They would have won the College World Series. Sorry, Craig, but we'll move on. So you just use metadata to allow your photos to live on forever, essentially. Now let's. I'm going to switch it over to Craig, and he's going to talk about how to work with code replacements in photo mechanic, because that's essentially what most everybody in the industry uses. So take it away, Craig.
All right. So as Josh was saying, code replacement is a key variable in this whole process. And code replacement really makes photo mechanic a lot stronger. And what code replacement's doing, let me pull up something while getting ready. What code replacement's doing is it's referring to a string of text and a variable and replacing it with something else. There's a lot of ways of doing it. There's really complex strings of code replacement, and you could pull variables and all sorts of stuff. And then there's simple ways. And let me see if I can share my screen. Cool. All right. So I opened up my code replacement document within, or reference in Photo Mechanic. And this is what makes Photo Mechanic really strong, is that if I look at this document right here, this is everyone in our football team. And I'm fortunate that I have a few interns, and they're able to help update this and everything throughout the season. But there's websites. If you go on to codereplacement.com, there's websites that you can add all this information in, and it will spit out a file exactly like this. And so what we do is we import this file, and this file is strong because is powerful because I can look at that string of metadata, as Josh was showing, that I applied. Here, let's see. I'm setting up my code replacement here. I know that we're playing Auburn in this game, playing football, and it's at Kyle Field. Everything else is set up. So when I apply that, I've got the template ready, and now all I need to do is 52D, and now I put his whole name and everything. So I set that file up by referring that FB52D is this player right here, and it's Justin Madubuike who is going to go in the NFL draft. And with this information, now it's defensive lineman Justin Madubuike, number 52 of the Texas A&M Aggies. I can do this with so many other things. I can comma FBHC. Now is our head coach Jimbo Fisher. So I can fly through a dozen photos really quickly, referring to who that is, add in all those code replacements, and it outputs text that is now searchable. And those searchable text is now makes our photos 100 times better because the people can find them. Let me see. So to kind of where that goes is that when you look at Libris and you look at these search engines that you can, these digital asset management systems that really add the extra step. And I think, Josh, are you going to talk more about going into that?
About Libris, stuff like that?
Yep.
I'm
going to set up this. Hold on really quickly. Sorry.
So you guys, and one thing we wanted to do here is if you have questions of all this stuff, just ask. We can answer them. We can pull them up and see them and answer them. If you have questions about code replacements or photo mechanic or anything like that, just ask a question and we'll get to it here. So what both of us use, both Craig and I use, and a ton of people actually in the sports world is Libris. It's by Photo Shelter. So what we can do is we take on our camera, we transmit wirelessly to people up in the press box. And if you have a dedicated photo editor, they can sit there and grab that stuff, use the code replacements that Craig just talked about, and then put in these players' names and these keywords and keywords like emotion or facility or fans and all that stuff. And then they can share them through a program like Libris. Okay, we are in our archive system here. And since we've done all of that work with the metadata in the beginning, now we can go into our archive system once they're uploaded and we can search by anything. Let's say we wanted to search by just emotion. There's emotion for every sport that you have. And you can click on them and you can download them. There was a baseball football or a baseball picture. Let's just say baseball emotion. And you have just your baseball emotion. This is Justin Bench. Let's just put in baseball bench. Because we have put in the metadata through a program like Libris or Photo Mechanic, we now can search by any game, any year, any season, at bats. You can search by anything that you want to put in to your keyword search. Anything you can imagine, you can do it with metadata. It's that important. Let's see here, fans. Check fans. Because the metadata exists, we now have fans from every sport. And then if you wanted basketball fans, you just put in basketball fans.
And all that's coming back to doing the work in a right after you shoot and everything, you're curling through all those photos. And then you're applying all that information in Photo Mechanic to output so that your graphic designers, your SIDs, whoever it is that has access to the back end of your digital asset management system is able to find. So you can create keywords that don't mean anything, but for other people, they mean a lot. So we have a keyword that's GFX. And if our graphic designers search that, they're going to pull up photos that are going to relate to the graphic designers. We have best of with a no space, so that if we type in best of in our keyword search, it's going to bring up all the best, and then I can type in 2019 or 2020 because it's referring to the date that's in the description, and it's going to pull up those photos. So a lot of that goes before you upload the photos, and you could do it after too. It's just a little bit more complicated. That's where a program like Photo Mechanic really excels and really goes beyond anything else that's out there. There's other applications. There's Bridge to view photos. There's Lightroom, but the code replacement, the captioning within Photo Mechanic is just so powerful, and it outputs it so fast within the controlled variables and everything that there's really nothing else out there like it. It's the industry standard for all of us out there, and it really does speed up the workflow. Now, the cool thing is that you can combine it with other programs, so it's not really the editing power of you can't really tone images. You can crop and you can kind of straighten, but you can add it so that it goes beyond that by linking Photo Mechanic with Photoshop. So to open up Camera Raw when you're ready to edit photos, you can link it to Lightroom. There's a workflow that you can drag your photos over to Lightroom, import the selects that you've already curled through, and then all that metadata is already applied, and then you can tone them and then output the JPEGs. Everyone has kind of their little tweaks to it. It's kind of funny when you go to these big tournaments and you're talking to photographers and you're looking over at their workflow and they're doing the exact same thing that you're doing, just a little bit different. I know that Josh and I's workflow is a little bit different to get to the final product, but at the end of the day, the final product is that the photos is searchable, and that goes a long way.
It very much does. They all are a little bit different. Let's go to some questions here that I see up here. One of them I saw is, okay, do you keyword your photos as you are filling, as you're filing, or do you or someone else go back later to add keywords? Well, you do both, actually. You like Craig was talking about what we do in that general description box, you go ahead and set up before the game, what who you're playing, what day, you're who, what, when, where, why, and how of the game. And then later, as you're going back through it, you can add the keywords like the emotion and stuff like that help the people around you search for a specific photo. So it's both. It's both.
So if I knew that these were all the same volleyball game and everything else, and I knew that this was a championship, I could keyword this NCAA tournament, and then and then go beyond that. If I know that these are all celebration photos, I can apply all celebration. Now, that's great, but the problem with that could be is that maybe this photo isn't a celebration photo. And that's the other thing, is that sometimes I don't need a keyword in it if all the information is up in the description that I need. If the player's in here, this isn't a football photo, but volleyball 11. There you go. So if the volleyball player is in this, then I really don't need the keyword here. I don't need their name. Some argue that you do, some argue that you don't. For me and for Photo Mechanic, it searches this field too. So I don't need the keyword here. Keywords here are more, Josh, what would you say?
I would say keywords are more for
general,
for after the fact, stuff like that. We, like he said, everything is a little bit different. So we put our players' names in the keywords section just so it separates a little bit from the general caption. But there's no wrong way to do that. As long as everything is searchable by your player, by your sport, by your keyword, everything, it doesn't really matter as long as it lives within one of those two those fields. Here's someone had asked a question: how do you come up with the decide between using the words emotion or reaction or something like that? I would suggest doing whatever fits best with you and your team. Like example, Craig is using celebration. We use emotion. The only reason I came up with using emotion, it's quicker to type. It's quicker to type. So emotion, celebration, use whatever works for you. We use a facility instead of like Swayze Field, because in our general caption, we have played at Swayze Field on March 8th, 2020. So once you start to go through your photo, you will understand which keywords you need to use to add to your metadata to make it the most searchable.
Yeah, and that goes also with when you're building these kind of databases of all those things, make sure everyone knows what those searchable terms. Provide a document that says, "Hey, we're going to use celebration instead of celebrates," because if you're the people that are looking for your photos can't find maybe 4 or 5 photos, they're going to use those 4 or 5 photos, and they may not be the best. The same thing goes with so if you're working with a team of photographers and you have students or anything like that, so that they're precise on their keywords. Make sure that you're using the exact same thing that you're using, so that your photos are searchable with their photos, and they're not pulling up different variations of the same photo or same sets of photos. We've got one, so anything that is a weird one, but anything that's like pyrotechnics, we just call fireworks. So anything that's like pyrotechnics, we go fireworks. See, Josh has his searchable terms in Libris for there, and that goes a long way. And that document provides everyone with all the context that they need to. So that they need to find a locker room photo, they're going to look up the right term for locker room. If they're looking up hard hat, you've got that term right there, and it's finding it. So those documents go a long way, and those documents can be applied in your keyword sets and keyword structures in Photo Mechanic. So you have a drop down and you can pick right away.
And you'll see, like, most of your people are going to search for certain ones: emotion, facility, team, fans. Bold those when you're building your search terms, because everybody knows the players on the team. They're going to be able to search for that player. Bold these, and when I bold these, those are general across all sports, because that's what most people are going to look for. Get back here.
So Mick just asked us if we utilize image recognition technology to automatically add codes and tags. I don't use anything that's in Photo Mechanic. Photo Mechanic doesn't have any of that abilities. That being said, Influencer is where that ability goes on. So for us, once we've tagged them and we applied those tags, or not really keywords, but once we applied those descriptions and it sees that first name that's in that field, it's going to tag that for them. And then the other thing is that it's going to use the recognition if we don't have any of those tags to use the face recognition. And that will tag more of our players. Now, there's some, it sometimes doesn't work and sometimes does, but adding those keywords and adding those players' names in the description really make it so that it's a little bit more accurate every single time. And so that's how the recognition technology is not always the fastest either. I can go through and crawl through about 200 photos using the code replacement file to get through the photos really quickly, and then add the normal keywords. And then once you've got your set of keywords already up there, and you're going back and you're looking at your photos and reviewing your photos, especially right now when you don't have a lot to do, I go back and I keyword stuff here and there. When I find a photo, I'm like, oh shit, that didn't have that keyword. Or, hey, we added that keyword. That would be a good photo for that. Or I look to see whatever everyone's searching, and then I can apply keywords to that. So going back and updating your keywords and getting your keywords correct is always good. Don't just leave them as it is and then upload them and then you don't add to them or anything like that. And Photo Mechanic Libris has the ability to add custom metadata. It's similar to keywords in that you're going back. We use that it gives the ability of a drop-down window. So I can show you really quickly. So,
and while he's pulling that up, you've worked. Okay, if you're in this field, you're going to work 12 to 15 hours pretty much every day during the weekend. It just happens. At the end of the day, you're tired. You don't want to do this. Start the process now of of adding that extra hour of adding those player names, of adding the keywords and doing all that stuff as you're uploading. If you do it now, it's going to save you so much time in down the road for both you and the 300 people, 400 people in your athletic department who are later trying to find photos that they need. We'll pull up the watch track here.
So here's a search. Buzz Williams, our head basketball coach. When I type in Buzz Williams, I've got 287 photos. Well, what if I just want him in our locker room? When I click that, now I've got all of his in locker room. And this is over here on this side these are custom metadata within that are applied within Libris. And so what we do is once we get the games up, and I go back and I apply these here and there so that all these photos now have that field of custom metadata on the other side of locker room. So right here in the stadium location is locker room. So that we know that this is post-game, locker room. And these fields right here are created within Libris. And so they're not in Photo Mechanic. But what we do is that if I search locker room and I see all these photos, I know that all these photos should have the location as locker room. And so if they don't, I can go back really quickly and apply them. And so that's kind of how we go back and check our stuff. And then it fixes a couple of corrections if there is corrections that we need to make. And so like Josh says, it's a never ending, you almost feel like you're always doing work and it doesn't stop. So sometimes you get a little bit lazy with it. And just know that if you do get lazy, go back and fix it, because the only way that people are going to find your photos is through this stuff. If you're just uploading them and you're putting them in a folder and it doesn't have any metadata, it's very hard for those people to find those photos of those specific people. So let's see, what other questions do we have here, Josh?
We've got a good one that I'm pulling up now. It's about how do each of you store your photo archives in the whole, and is the entire archive searchable at the same time if it's on multiple drives?
Hey guys, thank you for taking over the questions for me. Sorry I went a little MIA there, but I appreciate you stepping in.
No, you're good. We got it.
No problem, no problem. So I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to show you in the long run where all this stuff lives and why metadata is, again, so important. Okay, so what I've done here is I have opened up every single select from every game from this past season's basketball, and you can do that through Photo Mechanic. You find your archiving system, and there's just ways to be able to open up every single photo. So this is every single select that we've shot from every game this past season of Ole Miss basketball. Now, what you can do, since you've already gone through and you've done the metadata, you've done the work, you know every one of these players, they live inside this photo. What you can do now is you can just search for, let's look for Brian Tyree. Okay,
Josh, are you using Photo Mechanic 6?
Whatever the newest one is.
Yeah, so it's sad that they took away that search box up on the top.
Yes.
Now you got to do the find search. So they used to, so in Photo Mechanic 5, I think it's coming back. I heard a rumor that it's coming back in the newest update. But I think that hold off on the update because I think there is a glitch in it where you do Command N and B and it goes back and forth and it opens up a million tabs. But I think the search bar is coming back. But I saw where Josh went Control Find and had to find them and everything, and it's hard, but the results are powerful in that you can go back.
The good thing about Photo Mechanic, Libris, Influencer, they're all incredibly responsive. So that, like you said, those things are going to change, and they're very open to ideas and stuff like that. So you can literally contact the founders, especially Photo Mechanic, stuff like that. They'll get back to you. But anyway, we've just searched, because we put the metadata in the photos, we've just searched for Brian Tyree. Now you see every single photo here. Now let me move out of this just for a second. All right. Now, our archiving system lives in here. Now, this is for historical purposes. This is our folder structure. Our again, it's our historical system. If you go into men's basketball, 2019, our player action folders here. What we do for our purposes, if someone needs just to look at all one stuff and they don't have access to Libris, or they don't have access, or our historian needs photos, we can share this with them. And because we've put the metadata in the photo, we can search in Photo Mechanic just like we did. And we can throw, let's see how many here, 759 photos of Brian Tyree into his folder. And there they are. And metadata is stored into every single one of those. Now I got here in 2012. So we have every single player from 2012 in every single sport, because of metadata, easily accessible and instantly available to anyone that needs them in so many different platforms. And because of the situation we're in now, prior to 2012, we're now going back and re-adding, or we're adding the metadata to these photos so that the entire sports catalog of your organization, your school, is easily, readily available. That is how important metadata is.
Now, Josh, how often are you going back and pulling, going back into that selects folder and pulling those photos for those specific player folders?
We do that since Libris and everything is so readily available. We do that about 2 or 3 times a season. We don't do that every game, and then some sports we don't do it until at the end of the season. But we do want to do that. Just for those who don't, let me get back here.
So Mike asked us a question. So our controlled variables within, what are we pulling? So I'm using my home computer. So not all my variables are set up on it, but I can kind of give you an example. So let's see. So when you're about to get photos, so when they're coming in, it pulls up a window, and it's called the ingest window, and it's going to pull all the cards and everything. And so I have mine set up, and this is where photographers can take it and go way, way beyond the power of it. And some don't. They just put in what they need to put in, and it kind of spits out what it needs. For me, I have it set up to create folder structures. So it's going to create folder structures based off the date when it ingests, and then it's going to rename the files. And it's all going to be based off of this IPTC stationary pad. So it's pulling different fields to put in there. So for my IPTC stationary pad, for what we use for all of our photographers that shoot for us, they get this file, and it's pretty much similar to everyone else within our team. And it's pulling the city field from here, and it's using uppercase for that. It's taking the state, and these little slashes, are a code replacement kind of variable, or I don't know, I always call them the action key, but I know that there's a specific term. Let's see, hot code or hotkey or whatever. But so this is going to take the state field from here, and what this code is doing is it's referring to, let's see, in this document, if I looked at states, let's see, edit, is that every single time I type in, so if I typed in Photo Mechanics, Alabama / it's going to produce this line right here, AL. So I've got it set, so I save this file into here. So now every single time, if I typed in / it's going to put, so this one's setting up a little bit different. I have it setting for the state field, but I have it set for this SEC cities too on this computer. So if I typed in Alabama and typed in that, it's going to put up Tuscaloosa. And so you can use it so that when you apply these controlled variables, I have it pulling the state field. So here it's going to put it there. This is it's going to spell out the month, put date, the year, and then subcat 3, which is right here. And then it's referring to a code replacement that is going to take the sport and it's going to shorten it to do our codes, the starting of our code replacement during the game. And then I'm adding in these, and I can make this so that it pulls here, and then you can pull the mascot. You could also have it pulling the location field here, and then the city here, state, photographer, it's this field here. So you can have it pulling a lot. The other thing is that I know that there's a group of guys that are working on some hot codes. Hot codes was added into Photo Mechanics 6 last year when it was released, the newest version, and hot codes are really powerful. If you have if you have a lot of experience with Photo Mechanic and you are wanting to take it to the next step, view hot codes. Hot codes are based off of Excel documents. They're very once you get it, it's a magical feeling, but it's very complex. So it's not the start where you want to start, but hot codes can take you a long way, and you can assign values to those hot codes. We are actually going to be implementing that for our team. Hiatus, we've been working on some hot codes for us, so that now instead of referring to the having to do the variable, now I can just put in last, and it'll put the last name of that photographer relating to those hot codes. That could take a whole another explanation. So
yeah. He just went through a ton of stuff, which shows the power of what you can add into your photos via Photo Mechanic or any other platform. The key is that the more you add, the more searchable your photo is going to be. Now there are a ton of documents, like a lot of that stuff he just said.
Yeah,
I know it. Chris at LSU knows it. Aaron at Mississippi State knows it. They all know this stuff, but some of that stuff may be a little confusing right now.
Yeah.
If you search online, just metadata, variables, stuff like that, you will be able to find enough information, and it's pretty simple once you read those documents and figure that out. To say all of that, everything that he just said is great. You can add as little or as much as you want to a photo. If you can dream it, you can put it into a photo and make it searchable by anything, just anything imaginable. So I would encourage you guys to, like Greg, to use Photo Mechanic, to use code replacements, to look up this stuff, to spend the extra time to make this a priority. Because you do this after a game, or you do this now, and it saves you a ton of time in the long run. And for you people that feel like you're overwhelmed, you photographers that feel like you're completely overwhelmed because you've got 50 people a day sending requests in saying, I need this photo, I need this, and then this photo. If you've done all this work, you just send them a link saying, here it is. Go find it. Go type in whatever you want to. Go type in a player or state or a keyword or emotion or anything. They can do the work themselves. You literally free yourself up to be able to do projects and the stuff that you want to get to that you've never been able to get to because you haven't put your metadata into your photos and got it ready.
And to kind of piggyback off of that is that going really into depth about those keywords or not keywords, those code replacements and everything. Camerabits, the maker of Photo Mechanic, has some really good wiki. They update their wiki really a lot, and so I'm going to drop a link into our text in our chat here. It talks more about the events of speeding up your captioning, and it goes into depth about those Photo Mechanic multiple keyword code replacements and everything. For the non-photographer and the SID or the people that are watching this and everything else, they're going to go, wow, that's way too complex and everything. That's more for the photographer to handle in the back end of things, for us to do. But it just shows the power that there is of the ability to do it. And so there is a way of making it a simpler workflow. And sometimes we make it too complex. And sometimes I forget the variables that I'm putting in and everything else. That's happened a couple of times when I was sitting on my home computer. I was like, oh crap, what variable do I use to get that? But there is the ability to kind of simplify your work or simplify all those captions so that it builds it for you. So it's
an example of that, of how it may seem difficult right now, but it is fairly easy. One of the Georgia SID communications guys, he's a photographer, and he does this stuff, and it's pretty easy. In addition to very vital to be able to do this. Let's look at some other questions. Do you have one point person that manages Libris? And there we go. Yeah. I don't know about Craig and everybody else, but I am the person that manages Libris. Libris charges for additional people that manage Libris. It's incredibly easy. So one person is enough, especially when you do it the right way, when you manage your metadata. Another one, do either of your video departments use asset management systems metadata to be able to search for clips? Shout out to Almost Video. They're great at that. Everything is, I'm not as much on their side as doing that, but they do use the exact same management system. A lot of their clips have their metadata inserted into the file name, which you can do, but they still use the stuff like their keywords are like excellent instead of emotion. They use excellent, stuff like that, and it is pulled up. I mean, video is just as important to have your metadata in your description in your video departments as it is in photo as well. So yes, they do. They do keep a metadata structure, and that document that showed up that I share with everybody, they have one as well for their videos, and they do a great job at it. They're the best I've ever seen at it. Let's see what else.
Yeah, I don't know what our video department uses. I know that they use something. You've got two photographers talking here, so fortunately, as far as the video side of things, I'm not really familiar, and I know that there is programs out there that will do it for you. If you have that question and you want us to look into what our guys are using, I'm happy to reach out to some of our video guys and see what they're doing to add that metadata. I know Photo Mechanic isn't really the best option for video. I will say that. Applying metadata within video for Photo Mechanic is not. It's not going to be practical for your usage. But if you do want me to reach out, I'm happy to.
I think that's about everything that we had. What questions do you guys have? You can find me on Twitter everywhere at Ole Miss Picks, OleMisspix. And Craig, if you want to give yours as well.
Yeah, so mine's Craig Bisacre. So it's at Craig Bisacre, and then we have our team photographers are at Aggie Photogs. So happy to reach out, or you guys happy to reach out and answer any questions if you guys have them there. Actually, Mike just asked another question. Influencer now reads player description and caption fields. Yeah, so they do. They do answer that. They're fixing out a couple little things here and there, but the first name that's in that field is going to be tagged. That's the idea behind it. Your player, the first name field, it should tag it right away. So if your name is down at the bottom, photographer by or photo by, it shouldn't grab that field. Ideally, that's the way of helping the metadata get better and helping those photos get to those players and those athletes better, along with the image recognition technology that Influencer has. It's powerful. I kid you not. I have some photos that I throw in there, and I'm like, they're not in there. And then I look in the background and they're there. And I'm like, oh, gosh, I really don't want that photo to be tagged them. Thankfully, there's the ability to turn it off, because in the background, I'm like, I don't really want that coach to be tagged. But it's cool because those headshots are so recognizable in those photos. So Influencer does have that ability, especially with the metadata now. It's become stronger and stronger.
Nita, do you have any questions? You said you were interested in all this stuff. What can we answer for you?
Well, first of all, thanks, Craig. Our product is continuing to evolve, and we see the value in helping leverage any kind of efficiency with metadata. I'll be honest, a lot of this was like a foreign language to me personally. So I don't want to ask a question that makes me show like how naive I am to some of this. But I'm curious, is there anything that maybe you didn't get to touch on during this conversation that you feel is necessary for people to understand to bring this into their own organizations?
As we were both talking, I was thinking, what if people don't use Photo Mechanic? That was the thing that I was like, oh my gosh, what are these people? What's everyone going to think of? Look into it. Look into that. Reach out to us. We will most definitely help you. If you don't use Photo Mechanic, you use any other program. Reach out to us. We will help you because, and you know what? To us, this was a foreign language to us too. It was just like photography was. This metadata was a foreign language to us as well. But once you get the hang of it, once you start rolling it, you learn so quickly. It's not like learning to take a photo. It's quicker than that. You will learn this and you will pick it up so quickly that it becomes second nature like that. So if you have those questions, please reach out. And
to kind of piggyback off of that is that Photo Mechanic does have some education discounts. So if you reach out to their support, they'll be happy to help you out. If you're working for an education or a university or anything like that, or if you're buying multiple licenses for students and everything like that. It's one of our gifts, like for our team, it's one of our gifts that we give to our students once they graduate is Photo Mechanic, and they love it because they use it in the real world application after they graduate. So they're taking Photo Mechanic and doing weddings, and they're keywording off of weddings. You're keywording off of portraits. They're doing all sorts of keywording and taking not just sports photos and applying it. Photo Mechanic is not just a sports application. It's a photo application for all avenues. I actually learned Photo Mechanic in newspaper industry. So it goes beyond, so it goes beyond just sports.
I just thought about something too. I teach a class and have a few students and stuff like that. We have a playbook that describes all of this, that takes it from a foreign language and essentially dumbs it down to something that is much easier to understand. It has both photography stuff and tagging metadata in it. I won't give you my personal email, but I will give you the one, the business email here. If you guys would like that, I have no problem sending that to you. Nita, is that okay?
Absolutely. We have the networking doc that was posted in the chat room. Nikki compiled. We both went back to back on it. I think as long as they have your Twitter account or your LinkedIn, I think that's going to be the quickest way. If you want to pop in your your work email, not your personal email, in the chat as well, that would be helpful.
Okay, I just put that in there. It's incredibly easy. It's omisspicks@olemins.edu. For anybody that has any questions or would like that document, send me an email. I'll send it to you. It helps. It helps. It basically says it takes everything that we've said and, again, dumbs it down from the very beginning all the way to the end on both photography, sports photography, and metadata and storage and everything else.
And this is a great time to work on those kind of documents.
Yeah.
I will say that this is the time, if you're staying at home, which you should be, when you're staying at home, is work on these kind of applications. Make the photos work, kind of do your job for you. Play with those controlled variables, play with those code replacement files, and happy to send if there is ways of creating your own, generating your own code replacement that uses Excel. Happy to walk you through if you don't already have one, or if you're using codereplacements.com and you want to try to find some other application to do it. So
it's kind of crazy chat. We've got some trash talking going on here. ASU Expo would have been national champ. I don't know.
Well, thank you both. I appreciate this.
This is great. Thank you.
If anyone has any questions, please connect with Josh and Craig. We have a session again tomorrow. Jersey swap and Photoshop. Hope you all stay safe. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Definitely. See you guys.
Bye, guys.